Okay, so we're coming up on solstice, which is a big satanic revelry and sacrifice season time. So, anytime there's like an Easter or Christmas, anything that is Christ consciousness centered or around Yeshua, Jesus, then the demonic factions and the satanic factions like to do ritual. And they double down and triple down on their illusions, on their lies, on their distortions, and yes, on all the vast deception. Starting to see it. They're dripping and slow walking this Epstein stuff out. There are many Epsteins, there are many Diddies, there are many pimps and handlers and beast system hierarchical covens. So, they're all in it together. It is an elaborate global cabal, and the next level and wave that they're hiding about themselves is they're all gender inverted, right? So they are not the gender they present as. That is something that they are desperately scrambling to try to hide. So they actually want you focused on Epstein so you don't look at the gender markers and the things like brow ridge or clavicles or Q angle or the gait or the stare test. And so if you've done any transvestigation or any elite gender inversion rabbit holing, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is not to go after your regular schmegular trans person who has been duped by these eugenicists, these transhumanists, and these Satanists who they're doing the slow, long game of depopulation. So it makes sense to get young kids and teenagers first starting to play with pronouns and wardrobe, and that's relatively harmless. I was a tomboy when I was a kid, and I climbed trees and skinned knees and ran with the best of them. But I like my dresses and my makeup too, right? So it's, there's certain things, aspects of it that are gender and identity, and then there are others that are politicized and because they want people to stop being able to procreate naturally. They want to do all these lab creation children, which is often what the elites do. They want to keep their bloodlines intact, so they intermarry, they interbreed, and then there's a lot of, shall we say, anomalies and deformities that come out of that. They get ill from hormone abuse their whole lives, taking the opposite hormone from the original intended gender that creator, quote unquote, assigned to them. And this is counts towards their kill quota. It's so hard that it literally ties my tongue and makes me stressed to say these things, but I purge them because you can't talk about it with therapists, with friends, with ChatGPT without people thinking you're transphobic or that you're wildly conspiratorial and theoretical rather than that you've actually studied this stuff. And I've studied the Freakmason materials, their own materials, the core and source materials like Aleister Crowley, Manly P. Hall, Thelema, Helena Blavatsky. These were things I was, always into the metaphysical realm and kind of curious about the occult, but never went into the black magic parts of it or the dark arts part of it or the Voldemort parts of it because that didn't feel right to me, and it doesn't feel right to me. But that's what kind of goes on behind the scenes in the Luciferian elite bloodline family rituals is they do sodomy rituals, they do hurt children, they do traffic them, they do kill them, and they do dispose of them or consume them. So it's a science fiction movie and a horror movie, and it's very hard to believe, and maybe people can believe pieces of it. Like I have a friend, she said, well, I can believe there's an organized cabal that traffics children and profits from that, but I don't believe they're all gender inverted. That's too much of a stretch for me. And I thought, why? It's all part of their religion. It's all part of their satanic sacrifice, meeting their quotas religion. If they, for example, have a biological son and they turn it into a trans daughter, they killed their son. They killed their firstborn son. That's a mimicry of the Bible and Pontius Pilate going around and killing all the firstborn sons, or Herod, or whoever it was. Somebody bad. Nobody good was doing that, going and grabbing the male babies out of the homes. That has never changed. It has just gone underground and become more sophisticated and more technological and more medical. And it's all still very barbaric to encourage people towards self butchery when they don't, they have dysmorphia or dysphoria or however that works. And they're not getting the help they need to work through the traumas and the abuse, or understanding that it possibly is entities that are saying you're not, you're in the wrong body or whatever it is, however that works. I don't begrudge anyone doing what they want to do with their body over 25, but your prefrontal cortical whatever lobe part of your brain is not fully developed until 25, and in some people it never develops, right? Because they have to live a lie from womb to tomb. They do these satanic practices. They lie to us. They deceive us. They mock us. And then when you dare to have the audacity to start to see through it or speak up on it, they threaten you. And they try to be intimidating and bullies because they are intimidated. Because who are their targets? Children. That's who they punch down on. That's who they go after. That's who they exploit, manipulate, and harm. And profit from that harm. And they just want to keep their way of life going because they don't know anything different. They are literally allergic to truth. It probably gives them hives. And they all age weirdly because of that opposite hormone abuse. They talk about tea being testosterone. And when you see them drinking tea or talking about tea, they're talking about the hormone cocktail they've been on since they were prepubescent or sometimes in the womb. And these inversion practices are so common in that realm that we would not believe it. We would not believe the vast sheer numbers of people who are on our TV screens as news presenters, as sitcom actors, as singers, as reporters that are all inverted. And they're presenting as the opposite gender. Now, why does this matter? Who cares, right? If somebody wants to cosplay their whole life, that's a choice, right? Well, it's an indicative choice of other things. It's a front-facing choice that shows you what they do behind the scenes, which is sacrifice, human sacrifice, cannibalism, and again, those sodomy rituals where they give kids panda eyes. You can look that up. It's horrific. So if you ever want an alternative news source where they're not just giving you the sanitized version of things, go on BitChute, BITCHUTE, go on rumble.com. Look up things like elite gender inversion or transvestigation. Be willing to be seen as a transphobe when you're actually trying to protect future generations of children and women from harm and abuse and being sold as sex slaves. And if your brain can't stretch there and your consciousness can't go there, it's okay. I knew what I knew when I knew the priests were bending over the altar boys and what they were doing with them with crucifixes. I knew that. I got visions of that. I knew it. Heard little jokes on the bus when I would go to the boys' Catholic school to go to the girls' Catholic school. This was an open secret, right? These things are open secrets. People knew about Diddy. They knew about Epstein. They know about Trump. They know about Biden, and they know about Obama. And anyone who still thinks it's left versus right or red versus blue is definitely still asleep at the wheel and in the brainwashed coma on MK Ultra that they want you to believe, which is, hey, we're just misunderstood people, and we're just, souls in bodies like you are, and we're just trying to do our best like you are, and give us a break. Well, no, you fucking eat children, so I'm not going to give you a break, but I will give you a cosmic jail cell in my mind, because that's where you belong, where you cannot be a harm to yourself or others. Will there be an earthly consequence of that? Absolutely not. Nope. They run the media, they run the resources, they run the Freemason, Illuminati, satanic bloodlines, they run all kinds of draconian rules and games and laws and tests and bets and puzzles. It's like a Hunger Games meets Squid Games meets the Truman Show meets the Matrix, right? So what's the solution? Is to continue to see it and call it out, even if you're the only kid in the Emperor's New Clothes that says that guy's naked. And that guy isn't even a guy, it's a chicka-boom. It's a chicka-boom, boom, boom. So there's your bombshell for the day. There's your, big data drop, and probably 7 people will hear it and not believe it till a year or 2 or 3 or 5 from now. However, we do have the internet, and there are people doing these explorations and excavations and reveals, and they do bring receipts. And so listen to the whistleblowers. Listen to the mainstream media, which stands for Masonic Satanic Media. and just trust your intuition, follow your curiosity, entertain every and all conspiracy theories as truth until proven otherwise, instead of debunking them before you explore them, instead of shutting them down because your brain can't go there. There are a lot of things that most of us could not have fathomed when we were growing up, especially that there were massive amounts of priests hurting massive amounts of altar boys and little girls. We could not have imagined that, yet that's been proven true through court cases, through reparations, through admissions, through confessions. This is that. This is just the reboot of that. So prep your mind for the fact that everything they do and say is a lie and it is in service of Satan and Lucifer. That's what they believe. I'm not saying I do. And they mock Christianity, they mock Catholicism, even though they use that to hide, a lot of nefarious things. And it's all just coming out. This war between good and evil has been going on since the beginning of time, and it's not over yet. But they already lost, and they know it. And so, as I always say, things scream when they die, so let them. Keep it moving, move in your own direction. This is all just intel. It's not gloom and doom. It is not blackpilling you. It is just sharing what I know to be true from a decade of being psychologically and emotionally and mentally tormented by this cult and by these covens, and knowing kind of who runs with whom and what the Satanic Council is made up of, and what their hierarchy is, and what their titles and ranks are. So I know too much. I don't know why I'm still alive, but they let me live and they let me speak because they need a certain amount of opposition too to feel that they aren't just in an echo chamber. And sometimes if you are super vocal and super articulate about these things and you can show pattern recognition, that gives you some divine protection, or if they want to disavow you. I heard that word recently. Like, what's the point of that? I didn't make any vows to any of these people. And if they want to call you insubordinate, I'm like, okay, I'm not your subordinate, and I report only to Creator and only to Source and only to Jesus and maybe to Gaia, but I don't report to Satanists who eat children. I just don't. And there's no rank pulling on that because I don't believe in that as an operating system, or as a ruler, or as a dominator, or as a controller in any way, shape, or form. So I suggest we all claim our sovereignty and dominion over our own lives. And yes, keep a side eye on this false psyops and fuckery and farce, but also know it's way dirtier, way slimier, way sleazier, and way bloodier than they will ever let the public know. And they're just doing experiments on us all the time to see how we react. So this is me telling you that, to not invest in them. A lot of people I know are like, I don't even pay attention to that shit. I'm like, great. However, it is happening beneath your nose and beneath your feet all the time. The children are getting harmed and sold like food, okay? And then made into food. But that's another story for another time. So there we go. There's your horror movie, your campfire ghost story. Just take it as fiction and entertainment purposes only, and an opinion, and allegedly if you need to. But that's what I'm saying. I'm dropping that seed right now, right here. For those who can hear me, you will. For those who are triggered, deal with that. That's your own thing. Those who think I'm crazy, you're welcome to. And those of you who understand and agree with me, again, come on closer so we can have a real chat. And the ones who pretend, deflect, deceive, and deny, not interested. Thank you. Next.